All right. Thank you so much for tuning into my show, William Wallace for America. With me next on my show is Robert Wake of the Wake Foundation. And I think after you hear about his foundation, you're going to want to be involved in what he does for veterans. I personally believe, and that's the reason I do these interviews, is that our veterans are not necessarily always getting the support they need from our federal government after they leave military service. I think it's important that our veterans know that we are going to care for them and look out for them after they leave service, as well as it is to set an example for future veterans to know that if they join the service when they get out, there's going to be organizations like the Wake Foundation looking after them. Robert Wake, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
It's my privilege to be here today.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't wait to hear what the Wake Foundation does. I mean, I know, of course, what you all are doing, but I'd like for you to tell the listeners, what does the Wake Foundation do for veterans?
What the Wake Foundation does, and give you a quick background on it. I am a Purple Heart recipient from the Iraq War, was wounded in combat, was in the hospital for 13 months. And afterwards, I went to a lot of different veteran events through the Department of Veteran Affairs that were rehabilitation programs. And through all of that, I didn't realize until that time that a lot of veterans, well, all of the veterans could not attend these rehabilitation programs without a sponsor. And so the Wake Foundation decided, hey, we want these veterans going to these events to be able to go through rehabilitation. And there are so many things that we do. We're a sponsor of the Wheelchair Games with the Department of Veteran Affairs. We're a sponsor with the Golden Age Games. We do so many different events. We do a big major concert every year that we do as well. And we also do a veterans celebration Heroes Flight to Washington, D.C. We do 5 of those a year. We just did 2 in March, and we had 7 of them that were World War II veterans. And sadly, we lost one of those veterans this last Sunday, and he was a guard for President Dwight Eisenhower for 2 years. And he also walked the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for 3 months before he went over to seas. So we do everything from dental programs to, there's so many veterans because the VA only helps veterans who are 100% with their teeth. So the VA sends them to us, and because they know me and they know my foundation, we hook them up with different dental places and get them new teeth and try to help them in that direction. We've done everything from that to even pay for veterans' funerals who had no family. And recently, I stood beside the bed of a Marine who was homeless, didn't have no family, and so I went up to the hospital and heard he was there. And I spent the evening, the last 5 hours of his life as he passed away. And so then I got a call that they were going to bury him at a veteran's funeral, at a veteran's graveyard. And so they said only a couple of people would show up. We put it in our social media, and it was packed. There was people everywhere there to honor this forgotten Marine. He had served in 1973 to 77. But there are so many things. You can go to wakefoundation.org, thewakefoundation.org, or you can go to the Wake Foundation Facebook page and learn all the things that we do. We do a lot of elk hunts for veterans. Last year, I think we had 37 veterans that went on an elk hunt and harvested an elk and brought meat home to their family. We do 32 deer hunts with the Corps of Engineer. I mean, it is beyond. There are so many things that we do as a foundation. It'd take me all day long to be able to tell you all that we do. And we're a 100% nonprofit. No one in the foundation gets paid. And this is a service. With me being a Purple Heart recipient, it's just real. I take these things very, very, they're very important to me to make a difference in the lives of our veterans. And it's incredible. Foundation started out at $25,000 a year sponsoring veterans. Now we're over $1 million a year sponsoring veterans, and 100% goes to our veteran programs. So I love what we do, and making a difference in thousands of veterans' lives.
This is really not only interesting, but it's perplexing how I'm listening to all the things that you do and imagining how much all of that cost. And I mean, that's a huge expense. And then, I was kind of listening for how you fund it. I know one of the ways that you fund it. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But so you all you all have like regular donors that are donating a significant amount of money to the organization. And I got to commend you that you're basically a one-man show or a couple-man show. I'll let you answer that in a second, and that it's all volunteer. There's nobody gets paid to do this.
Exactly. We have about 60 volunteers. I have 11 board members, but there's only 2 teams that go out and fundraise. I want you to understand, one of the things that's never happened since I've been doing this with the foundation, we've never received a federal grant. We've always been boots on the ground and raised the money ourselves. And all through our raffles. We do have sponsors when we do our concerts. We have some big entertainers. We've done 15 major concerts with people like Lee Greenwood, Tracy Lawrence, Tracy Bird, different entertainers of different, of different times of the year. We had the Oak Ridge Boys, just a lot of big entertainers. And we normally have 4,500 to 5,000 veterans and their families, and it's free to them. It is no charge. All of the events that we do not charge the veterans one dime. And we do have sponsors that help us, but we work hard at raising the money that we get, and we do not depend on the government to do that.
I'm going to put you in touch with one of the sponsors of my show, Patriot Mobile, because they donate to veterans organizations. I don't know what their criteria is. They believe in our military, they believe in our veterans, and I know that they give veterans discounts to people who are veterans and service members for their cell phone service. And I do know that they have a criteria, but I don't know what that is, to donate to veterans organizations. So I'm gonna have to get you an introduction to Patriot Mobile. They sponsor my show, and when people use my promo code WWFA at patriotmobile.com, they get a discount. And of course, it's I'll make that introduction for you for veterans.
That'd be awesome,
because I know they do a lot of really good stuff there. But so if you don't, I know it's public. You're a 501c3. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you all receive most of your donations, most of your funding through donations, correct? And
we
not
do.
from the government, but you also do fundraisers.
Right.
What I want to talk about your raffle here in just a second, but before we talk about the raffle, are there what other fundraisers do you guys do?
Well, like for instance, this next week before Labor Day weekend, we are selling 300 Boston butts and 110 sides of ribs, and so we raised like $10,000 off of that, and that's another fundraiser we do. Everything we do is pretty much hands-on. We do have a lot of sponsors that believe in us, and that farmers and different ones that have really stepped up to the plate. We got one farmer that this year, I think he sponsored like $25,000. But it takes a lot of hard work. One of the bigger things about it is I wanted the foundation to be self-sustaining, and I wanted us to really, I wanted people to understand the value of fundraising, and I didn't want people to think that we were out for a free money, especially when it comes to the government. We also do training programs that I want to mention real quick.
Sure.
We partner with big construction companies, and at our local college, we bring our veterans in that are coming home, and we take them to these they go through training at our colleges for heavy equipment construction jobs. Last year, we put 90 veterans to work. They average making $30 to $60 an hour. Hear me. If you can put our veterans to work, it will help them with suicide prevention. If they are feeding their family and clothing their children and they feel like they're fulfilling with their life, that's what it's all about, because we deal with so much suicide. And but we've got a lot of veterans being trained today that we pay for their training. We pay for them to go to school. We pay for them to have work equipment. And, like water treatment plants, we train veterans to do those programs, and we give them the money and the necessities to be able to do their job.
That is absolutely amazing, Robert. I've interviewed a lot of veterans organizations, and I commend them all. Everybody plays a huge part, no matter how focused their mission statement is. And what I mean by that is, some of them just focus on getting, a place to stay when they travel or whatever the case may be. But you're doing training, you're doing travel, you're doing assistance, you're paying for, you guys are amazing. Your organization does a lot with little. I say with little, mean with little people, with little small amounts of people. And then to say that everybody is all volunteer, you are really an example of not what we need more of in our country. But I always like to tell people that I believe that nonprofits, and especially veterans organizations, nonprofits, are the best way to solve problems in America. You're not relying on the government. You're not relying on anybody's tax dollars. You're relying on people to donate, and money that you all put your sweat equity into. You put your time and sweat into, to raise money to give it away, and you're not getting paid in the process. And I know we've said this in this interview, but I really wanted to double underline it and highlight it, because it really is remarkable, and I got to commend you for that. What got you started with this mission?
When I was wounded in combat in 2004, I was on top of an Iraqi police station. It was 3:00 in the morning. And we had been in 9 ambushes in 12 days, and it was been a major time. I knew I was eventually going to get wounded. And at 3:00 in the morning, there was a lull. And we decided me and the medic, out of all people, decided to eat an MRE in the dark. And we did. And someone lit a cigarette. And when they did, I heard the bomb come out of the tube. And it landed between us, and it injured me pretty bad, and it injured him pretty bad. And I don't remember a lot about that night. I remember the first time that I come to, that I realized at that time I was alive, and I could hear my heart beating in my ears, and I could hear someone screaming. And I didn't realize at that time but it was the medic that was screaming, and I could hear a lot of gunfire in the background. And I remember feeling like my whole body was on fire from the shrapnel, and it had sucked all the oxygen out of my lungs. And I went out. I remember telling my son goodbye, who was in college at that time. And it was strange that I decided to do that, because I thought I was dying. And I told him goodbye, and he's a 4.0 in college. He went with a 4.0 all the way through his master's. So very proud of him. But I somehow went out, and I somehow I crawled across the roof without any knowledge that I was doing so. And the second time that I come to, I remember that I was still alive. And this is exactly what I said. I said, Lord, if you'll just get me home, when I get home, I will do whatever I have to make a difference in people's lives. And that's exactly what I said. And I went out. And then the third time that I come to, I had fell through an open window. And there was a bunch of Iraqi policemen in there that we trained, but I didn't know who they was. I was off in another world, bleeding all over. And I remember putting my hand on my pistol, getting ready to defend myself, and I went out. And the last time that I came to, I was in a stairwell, and I remember the military calling my name over the radio, saying I was bleeding from my nose and my ears, and I went through an ambush of them trying to get me out of there. Something that I thought took 15 minutes took over 5 hours for them to get me out of there. And so I was in the hospital for 13 months. And I was determined when I got out of there. The governor sent an aide to my hospital, and one of the news medias was embedded with us, so they seen all that I went through and all that our group had went through. And so anyway, I traveled for him for a couple of years under the umbrella and I spoke in every school. I traveled speaking everywhere. And so it gave me the opportunity when I seen the needs of our veterans that was not being met. I made the choice and the decision that I was going to fulfill my promise. And in 2010, I formed the Wake Foundation. And ever since then, if I ever die, I want people to look and say that life's mattered. That man's life mattered. To me, that's what matters. And so I've been doing that ever since.
Robert, that is not only an amazing story, but I'm grateful that you shared it with me. And I'm thankful that you're sharing it with everybody else too, because I think that is a huge testament for, not only our military, but for other people to follow in your footsteps and do what they can do to help other people, but also, help our veterans.
Yeah.
That's quite that's an amazing story. I'm thank God you survived. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what that was like. Now, of course, you prayed to you told your son goodbye, but that was probably in your disillusionment because he wasn't there and he had no way of hearing you. But of course, he was in college. Was he in college during that time? You said
He was in college, and he he works for a company making $150,000 a year. He's given me 4 beautiful grandkids. And to be quite honest with you, I've thought of many a times about the fact that it could have been him there that got wounded instead of me.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of who he is, and I'm proud of his life.
So let's segue into, even though I could talk to you about this, about your story, your personal story all this time, I want to segue back into how people can help your foundation. I know that you're at the tail end of a raffle right now, and so it's gonna be hard for anybody to buy a ticket now because you're a week away from the drawing. But I do want to talk about that raffle and to make people aware that you have these on a regular basis, and there's going to be more of them. So let's talk about the raffle that you're doing now and how people can be involved with them later and how people can get involved in future fundraisers to help the Wake Foundation.
One of the big fundraisers that we do is we do gun raffles at a lot of our gun shows. A lot like we just did one this week with one of our big companies that we partner with, and we support and pay for veterans to go to work through their companies, and we do fundraisers at their conventions. But you can go to our Facebook page and you can be able to see on our Facebook, which is Wake Foundation Facebook page, and you can see the fundraising and see the raffles that we do there. 2 things I want to mention about that real quick. Always, if you're supporting a group, I don't care, if it's a nonprofit or whoever it is, always check them out and know something about them when you support them. And go to our Wake Foundation Facebook page, go to thewakefoundation.org, and it will tell you everything about our lives. You can
right now, their website on the Rumble page is scrolling across on the Rumble video right now, thewakefoundation.org. I want to repeat that for the podcast listeners, though, thewakefoundation.org, and also your Facebook page is what again?
It is Wake Foundation Facebook.
Okay.
and a lot of our pictures, a lot of our videos, everything we do, every fundraiser, every concert, every hunt, everything you can imagine. You can spend days going through there and seeing all the things that we do. And so by supporting in our next week, we're going to be able to have it in our website where you can go in on our next raffle. And if you want to buy raffle tickets, you can click on the link and you'll be able to purchase raffle tickets. And then we give those guns away at certain times of the year. And it's just something that we do. To be honest with you, we raise normally $500,000 to $600,000 a year in those raffles alone.
Wow.
So and then when you add all of the other, like our concerts that we do, and with all of those events that we do, we normally raise over $100,000 in sponsors in those events. And it's just crazy because people know we're real and they know that we're genuine. I want people to know that we're real. You can always on your money when you make a donation, you can also use it in your tax write-off. But check us out. Go in there and look what we're about, and even Google Robert Wake Senior, and you'll be able to learn a lot about us.
Are y'all on X by some chance?
Yes,
Right.
we are. We're in all social media. We are fixing to have our own podcast, but it's going to be about another 30 days.
All right.
And so, but a lot of great things happening for us, and we're just wanting to make a difference in people's lives.
I love it. Robert Wake with the Wake Foundation, I thank you very much for your time. Robert, one question I like to ask all of my guests, and if you would like to answer, I'd love the answer, which is, where do you think we're losing freedom in America?
Where do I think we're losing freedom in America? I think we're losing a lot of freedom in America because we have let down so many of our true values. And so many, what we are and what we become, and what our Constitution intended for us to be. I mean, we were built off of an incredible belief and faith, and a people that had strong faith. And I just believe in our true values of who we are. We're getting so far away from it. And I think we need to get back to who and what we really are. And, there's so much craziness going on out there. And it's because so many people have totally gotten away from true values.
I couldn't agree more. Robert Wake, the Wake Foundation, thewakefoundation.org. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I'm going to ask our listeners to please share this interview, not just for the content and the information that's in it, but please share this episode with a veteran who might need the help that's being offered by the Wake Foundation, or with a donor that can do things to help the Wake Foundation. Thank you again very much, and I'll see you on the next show.